Hey everybody, Nick here, and today I got a disassembly and maintenance for you on this little guy right here. This is the Wee Knives Snack 10 Vision R. Interesting knife. Very interesting, very unusual. One thing that I'm going to highlight, though, before I even get started, is that on this guy, there's maybe even less need for disassembly than usual because, well, one of the areas that can often become a little bit problematic is like the lock bar area, right? The blade. Well, on this guy, what you can actually do is you can pull this guy all the way out, which allows you to clean both it as well as both kind of areas of the blade where it engages. So there's really not all that much need to get in here and do the kind of disassembly I'm about to do, but I'm going to go on ahead and do it anyways because that's kind of my shtick, right? So we're going to take this guy apart and see what we got inside here. Looking at it, looks like maybe T8 on both sides. There's kind of a weird optical illusion that happens where if there's a small screw, the hole looks bigger than relative to a big screw. So I'm guessing T8 on both sides. And indeed there is. Is that a free spinning pivot? Yeah, that sure is. Sweet. All right, let me grab a, here we go. Let us grab T8 here and stabilize one of the sides. And then we'll do the other side. There we go. Oh, looks like it's not like there's a clip side or a show side. In my opinion, much to the knife's detriment. We'll get there in the full review. But nonetheless, what we see is that on this side, we'll call it the Sneck side, rather than the Wee side, is where the clip comes out. And then I'll go ahead and I'll remove this screw in the back here, which is also T8. And go ahead and hopefully that'll let me take everything apart here. So we've got that. If you're curious about any of the tools I'm using for today's disassembly, nickshabazz.com/tools has the full details. All right, now, how am I getting this guy apart? Everything should come apart. There are extra posts. There's an extra post here and here, and so it's likely just a question of kind of leveraging things gently upwards such that those posts disengage, and then everything should work out. But, you know, okay, yeah, here we go. A little bit of leverage over here, pop that open. Then if I come back over here, we're popping this open. I'm using very little force here. I don't need to use much force, but that'll let me get everything apart. And then, perfect. Okay, so we do have a spring in here. And I need to be careful about this spring because it's going to try and fly off and hit me in the face. I can pretty much guarantee it. But what we do see here, actually, is a demonstration of how this lock actually works, which is kind of nice. Right, what happens is, when I disengage this, what I'm actually doing is I am pulling this guy out of the little hole in the blade there, which allows the blade to come and shut, and then the detent is formed just by the pressure of this lock against the bottom of the tang of the blade there. That is, by the way, not a lot of pressure. That is why the detent is not terribly weak, or not terribly strong, but it is definitely a thing. It is worth noting, though, that the blade generally hits this stop pin here. So it is not actually, this stop pin is located, well, on this side. Actually, I can transfer it over here. So you can see it is not the case that the blade comes and hits the bottom of the spacer as it was doing right there. But okay, now enough monkeying around. I'm going to take, yeah, I'll take the blade off first. And then I'm being careful about this spring. Okay, it's out and happy. Beautiful. That's how we got this guy. One thing I'm going to say right now is that I am impressed with the amount of internal milling on this. It's very clear that they tried to remove as much weight as they possibly could, and that's great. I really appreciate that. I like that a lot. The other thing that's worth noting is that there is, in fact, a little bit of metal carve-out around the clip, which keeps it kind of locked into position. And so, you know, there is that. That's a nice thing. But anyways, so we're going to go on ahead and clean everything in here out. Shouldn't take too much in the way of effort. Use some rubbing alcohol here on a fabric swatch. Clean this guy off. It's worth noting, though, this has not been carried extensively. I'll talk a little bit about why during my review of it. But it is, this is roughly factory fresh. This guy was sent to me by Wee Knives. And so there is that. But anyways, we can go ahead and turn this around. It's a little disappointing that the pivot is not free, that the pivot is free spinning, though. It's something we usually does better with. But they were trying a lot of new things here. I guess I ran out of funding or something for it. I don't know. We'll figure it out. All right, take this guy apart. Well, it's already apart. Take this guy and wipe it down. There we go. Is there anything else I got to wipe down? Not really, no. I'll go ahead and I'll wipe around this pin. Yeah, I think we're actually pretty much good to go here. So what I'll go ahead and do is I'm going to use some knife pivot lube here. Because why not? And put a little drop here. And a little drop right here. And then I will put the bearing back into position. Sitting down into a little groove there. Now what I'm going to do is put a little bit of drop of lubrication right here. Because these are friction-y surfaces. Right? And I'll also put one along the top here. It looks like there's a little friction there. And, okay. Now my next step is going to be to place this in. Do I want to put the lock in first? Probably. Yeah, that way I can... Oh, actually, here, I'll be smart about this, and I'll install the spring last. Let's see if that works out. So I'll go ahead and I'll put a little bit of lubrication onto the bearing race here. There is no detent ball to mark. Oh, there's the steel marking. I thought there wasn't one on there. No detent ball here because there's not that much detent. But anyways, so that's a separate question for a separate issue. But anyways, so all I need to do is lubricate the tang of the blade there. And the, oh, and actually I guess I will make sure a little gets into the pivot area. Just because that's valuable. All right, beautiful. Knife duly over lubricated. We can put that back in place. And now I'll just drop this bearing down on there. Okay, so at this point in time, again, I can show you how the super lock here works, or whatever the term he's using for it. But either way, yeah, so it just slides in there and then buries itself deep in the that little recess there, and then it works. Okay, now let's install this spring. Hopefully this is going to go well. I am wearing a safety Batman mask. It's not different from a regular Batman mask. It's probably not that safe, but you know what? I'm trying. And then I'll put a little bit of lubrication right there. And then I will drop this whole affair down onto this. And I kind of need to align all of the pins. And I imagine that's going to be a little weird at first. So maybe what I'm going to do is pull the lock back a little bit. I think I need to come from the top down there. Like, pinch this all together. I'll pull the lock back. There we go. Everything just popped into place there. Well, maybe not everything, but a good proportion of things. And now what I got to do is, let me make sure everything's running. Yeah, that's fine. It's a little up against the side. Why is it up against the side? Strange. Oh, once I pop the pivot the rest of the way in, it works out fine. All right. Beautiful. Let me then use a little bit of Loctite here. I'm going to use some thread locker. And actually, this screw is a little on the dirty side, so let me go ahead and do that. I just realized I'm not wearing a watch. That's bizarre. All right. Did I get any on there, or did I just succeed in yeeting this screw across the room? Maybe both. All right, I'm going to tighten this down here. Now what I'm going to do is do the same thing in the back here. Really? This is a really, really shallow screw. Like, this is shallower than reality TV. I say that, by the way, as a connoisseur of some really trashy reality TV, but, you know, I got to admit. All right, let's go ahead and pop this in. Now, if I've done everything properly, I should be able to. Yeah, okay, that's working. Centering is pretty much dead on, which is nice. Did I put the pivot back in from the sneck side? Yeah, I did. That's good. There should be no play. There is no play. It's actually a little smoother. Probably because of the extra lubrication along here. Mind you, the lubrication along this surface is going to be worn off pretty quickly because this surface is loose in your pocket. At any given moment, So there's that. And then I'm just going to make sure I can still pop this backspacer out here. Again, I'm not 100% sure that that's going to be useful to everybody on a regular basis, but it does give you that option. So, yeah, everything seems to be back as it was. There we go. Got that in. And we are disassembled and reassembled for that matter. All right, keep an eye out for the full review here coming up soon. But I hope this has been interesting to you, and have yourselves an absolutely wonderful rest of your day. Bye now.